Aloha and mahalo for joining me. I'm Janin and welcome to the Call to Create podcast. I hope you're having a great day wherever you are. And every day is a work in progress. I don't think that you ever get to a place where you're always excited and you're always totally committed and you're always just moving forward. I think because we're imperfect human beings, we have days where things are stressful or something in life happens and you just get discouraged. And sometimes you feel like, okay, I really don't feel like working on my business, or I don't feel like doing much today. And that's okay. If that's happening to you right now, that's okay, because that's normal and that's life. Just make sure that you take out a notebook. Like I always say, write down, have your own notebook and write down what you're thinking every morning, because that will really help you work through a lot of things. And of course, talking to someone who you can kind of articulate what's going on in your head. And it's always good to have a conversation with someone about what you're feeling, or the stress that you're going through. So I hope you are finding that all these things that I'm teaching is helpful. But today, what I wanted to focus on just for a little bit is about expansive thinking. So I was thinking about this for a while now. And you know how sometimes you hear people talk about, okay, think big, when if you have a dream or you want to accomplish a goal or something, think big. And of course, you always want to keep in mind the end result too. But when I hear that, for me personally, because I'm just a different person, and so maybe someone out there is kind of a little bit like me, where I don't automatically go big picture. Like, I don't think big about every single thing in my life. The only thing that I think big about is like when I'm doing something creative that I love, whatever I'm creating, whether it's arts, crafts, or sewing, or just using my hands creating something, that is where I can think big, because I get excited about it. I consider myself creative. So when I'm thinking about it and I'm doing it, it's easy for me to think big of like, oh yeah, what I'm creating, I could do this with it, or, whatever. But sometimes when I'm thinking about other parts of my life, I don't always necessarily go to, yeah, let's go big. I find that I'm just different in that way. And there are people out there who just go big, from the beginning. But because I'm not like that with everything, I was thinking about this expansive thinking, and what I realized is that I pictured in my mind a balloon, like when I'm blowing up a balloon. And if you've ever blown one up, you can understand what I'm talking about. But the material of the balloon, the latex, is pliable. It's very stretchy. At first, when you first get the balloon out of the bag, when you buy it, it's really hard and stiff. So they recommend like stretching it before you actually blow it up. And that's kind of like us. We get so rigid sometimes, not everyone, but I can find myself in some of these examples. Like, there are certain things where I only want to do things a certain way, and it's like very rigid. But then when it comes to my creativity or other things, I find that I'm not like that. I'm not rigid at all. I'm very pliable. So a balloon is pliable. You can stretch it, and it'll stretch with you when you're pulling it. And then as soon as you start blowing it up and putting air in there, you start to notice that at first it's hard. Just getting that first burst of air in there to, stretch the balloon, it's really hard. But as soon as you keep trying and you keep blowing and you keep at it, eventually the balloon expands. The more air you put in it, the larger it gets, and then it's easy to keep putting air. So I want to use that analogy like us. If you allow yourself to expand, right? And expansion is slow. It's not like you go from 0 to 100 like immediately at a snap of a finger. right? It's always like a balloon. Like it's hard at first, right? Whenever you're trying to do something different or expand in what you're doing and how you're thinking, it's going to be hard because it's not something normal that you do every day where you think big all of a sudden. So think of yourself as like a balloon that can expand. You're slowly putting air in it and it's expanding, getting bigger and bigger. And think about how you can apply that in your life, that expansive thinking, if you're not one of those that just thinks big all the time. And I found that that's what I try to do is just a little bit every day is just continue to put air in my balloon and to just allow myself a little bit every day to expand, to think a little bigger and just keep growing because I'm not perfect and I've never ever claimed to be perfect. There are days when I'm struggling and I'm having a hard time just imagining the things that I want or the things that I want to do. And sometimes it's hard when I think about like who I want to become. Like I know I want to become a better person and all of that, but I have days where it's like, oh, I don't feel like it right now. I'm frustrated about something. So give yourself that grace to be able to have expansive thinking where you're doing a little bit every day. And like the balloon, you blow a little bit of air, it gets bigger. And with each breath of air that you're blowing into the balloon, you're just expanding it, making it a little bit bigger. And you can make it to the size that you want, right? Well, most balloons until, it can't stretch anymore. But allow yourself that grace and do that for yourself. And just every day, just put a little bit more air into your life. Allow yourself to start thinking bigger and bigger. You'll find that as you allow yourself a little bit more each day, a little bit more progress and a little bit more air into your sail. I like to talk about how our journey here is about who you're becoming. So it's all about who you're becoming as you grow and learn every day. So do that for yourself. And you'll find that if you just do a little bit every day, that things just become a little bit easier, and then you'll get that momentum and you'll feel like, okay, I can do this if you struggle with not thinking big about everything. Because that's what I'm trying to do for myself. And this is what I want to share for you because it's helpful if you don't just automatically, go from 0 to 100 in a snap of a finger. So take this time for yourself because the better you become, the better your life becomes and the better your relationships become. Sometimes family relationships can be really hard, but when you work on yourself, the better everything else becomes around you because you can't change anyone. There's just no way. And I talk about that because you can't change people. Unfortunately, sometimes we just want to have people do what we want, but life just doesn't work that way. So do this for yourself. Have that expansive thinking and send me a direct message if you'd like to talk to me or share anything with me. But become someone who you want. Don't let anyone else tell you who you should be or what you should be or how you should live your life. Strive to become a better person each day and try this expansive thinking. I know it will help you a lot. And if you have any questions, let me know. And please share this podcast with anyone who you know would get great value out of listening to it, especially if you know that they're thinking about starting their own business. Or even if they're not, there's still great value that I share in each episode that can bring value to women, even if they aren't interested in starting their own business. And please rate and review this podcast. I would appreciate it. And thank you so much. I hope you have a great day. Aloha.